And we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in three, two, one, now. So, I don't know why I expected, or even really at the point hoped for a happy ending. Like this was a zombie movie, and zombie movies, shows, etc. almost never have actual happy endings. Um, but holy shit, that got to me. Like I actually got really emotional. I'm still really emotional. I don't know. It's just like you almost instantly care about this girl. You want her to succeed and to survive. You want her to just get through everything. And in the end, she doesn't. Now, the twist. Let's talk about that first. The twist that um, Suk-yu wasn't really her father, and that's his name, by the way. Suk dash Gyu, Suk-yu. Um, so throughout this entire movie, pretty much, we've been led to believe that he was her father, and we had no real reason to doubt that. He clearly seemed to care. He was doing everything he could to find her. Every time her name was mentioned, he seemed scared and worried for her. And then to come to realize that he was her former pimp, and that that he only wanted to find her to try and get his money back. Even with all of this horrifying shit happening, he was still that uh, one track minded and wanted his money back. As if that even fucking matters anymore. And it was like the twist. It doesn't fully come out of nowhere. Because here's the thing. We already knew that she had sold her body for money. I mean, at first we're told about it from the fact that she would like her boyfriend, Ki Woon, uh, he would arrange for her to meet with guys, and so they could get money to continue renting their apartment and stuff. She was getting sick of it, though. Now, at a point, she mentioned having run away from home, and the question I'm wondering now, was she talking about running away from him, from her previous pimp, or was she actually talking about having run away from her like legitimate home? Because apparently she has a sick father, and her sick father and them ran away when confronted by the pimp and shit. Um, I'm kind of leaning towards the idea that maybe she did run away from her actual home, but it's been made clear that she also ran away from her previous pimp, which is why he was trying to find her, trying to hunt her down and stuff. So I'm thinking that she ran away from both, which I mean, we don't know why she would have ran away from her real home. I mean, granted, it's not like super important to the narrative of the story, but yeah, just kind of curious. And I mean, judging on basically the information we've got, I assume that like after she ran away from home, in order to make ends meet, in order to be able to survive, she started working with this pimp. Whether he found her on the streets or in some other way, maybe she was introduced through someone else. She started working for him, and he was pimping her out to people, all of that kind of shit. But she eventually got tired of it and left. She eventually met Ki Woon, and he started doing the same. He started like in order to make ends meet, he started to again, organized for her to sell her body to make money. And she got just sick of it again. She was just sick of that entire thing. And I don't blame her. I don't at all. And then with everything going down with this zombie apocalypse and all, it's like, shit. But yeah, it's just like that twist, like, it wasn't even needed, but it made this even more tragic in the end. With her death and reanimation as a zombie, it made it even more tragic for her death. For it made you feel even more for her because you already instantly feel for her with everything she's gone through. That's revealed quite early on, and then with you see everything she's going through in this apocalypse, and it's like you want her to survive. You just connect with her and like her. She's insanely likable, and like you just want to see her survive. And so it's like all these close calls. It's like you're holding your throat, like just hoping to God that she makes it through. So then when like you find out that this dude's her pimp and everything, and find out all this horrible shit, and see him kill Ji Woon or Ki Woon, sorry. It's like it just makes it that much more horrible and makes you feel that much more for her. So then it's like in the ensuing chase and everything, when you see her die and see that she had been scratched, and it's just like it's just horrifying. It's just so fucking sad. This movie really made you care about her. And then she dies in the end after that big reveal too. This poor fucking girl deserved so much better. And Ki Woon, he was doing horrible shit by selling her to people for sex without even her permission, setting up all this shit. And it's like he started to redeem himself, and by the end, goddamn, he did. He did everything he could to protect her. He showed that he did truly care for her. And yes, he did horrible shit, and it doesn't excuse the horrible shit he did. But he made up for it. He was truly the one doing everything he could to find her and to save her and help her. He was the one who truly did care. And he did not deserve to go the way he did. By that fucking asshole. And I'm sorry, but that kind of stuff really pisses me off in the first place. Like, I've talked about it before, but sexual assault and everything just really, really pisses me off and bothers me to no end. And the fact that at the end there, he was about to rape her as well. Like, who knows how much she had to actually deal with that while she was working under him. And she was only doing this for money, and eventually she had enough, and then her boyfriend ends up doing this against her will too and everything. It's like, this girl, poor girl, has had enough. And that kind of shit really pisses me off. So it's like, everything just kind of pieces together to make it just that intensely tragic when she does die. But when she comes back as a zombie and kills the fucking asshole pimp, it's like, it's so cathartic at the same time. It's like he got what he deserved in the end. He was killed by this poor girl who he had put through so much pain and torture in the past and even in the present. She got her revenge. But no one survived. None of the characters we followed, even in the early movie with that bum who was just trying to help his elderly friend, no one survived. And unfortunately, I hate to say it because it sounds callous and just mean-spirited, but that's a good thing. And I hate to say it as well because, again, I cared about this girl and I came to care about Ki-woon. I came to actually legitimately feel for him. It's a good thing. In a zombie apocalypse situation, like it's always great to see people survive, but it's also great to once in a while see a zombie movie or show or game or whatever where they don't, where no one survives. And it's like let's compare this to some other zombie stuff, okay? So I'm going to compare it to some games here. Let's compare it to The Last of Us. The Last of Us, a very, very big name zombie game. And I know you could technically say, oh, but they're not technically zombies. They're infected by fungus and everything. It's not quite the same thing. But, I mean, technically in most zombie culture and most zombie media, we don't technically know where the infection comes from. At least most of the stuff I've seen. So it's like, okay, the fungus, the infection, the zombie infection this time comes from a fungus, and they have a little bit of some differences. Like they release spores. There's the clickers who are blinded by the fungus and can only like find their prey and stuff by making the clicking noises, kind of like echolocation, stuff like that. But they're still technically zombies. They're still reanimated dead bodies that infect you and make you turn into one of them. They're still zombies, just a different kind, a unique variety. But either way, with The Last of Us, by the end of the game, and it's well past the point of worrying about spoilers at this point. At the end of the game, Joel and Ellie both survive. Yes, you see multiple main characters like Tess and Marlene die, but by the end, our two main characters, our two major characters, both survived. And in the case of The Last of Us, that's good. It handled it well, and it made it so that their survival not only made sense, but also didn't necessarily make things right in the end. Things were still bad off. Things were still really terrible in the world. It's not like it was fixed by the end. And their survival also worked in terms for how the story went, the pacing of the story and everything, just the way it was presented. I don't think it would have worked as well if they ended up dying. I don't think it would have made sense for just how the story was presented. Because, especially with the fact that the main portion of the game took place 20 years into the zombie apocalypse. So it's like, at that point, it's like, it's a game about surviving this world, this zombie world. So it's like, yeah, it's about that. That's what you want to see. And then you have another game, though, to compare it to, which I mentioned before, Telltale's The Walking Dead, which the final season was done by Skybound. Well, not the entire final season, but a good portion of it. But yeah, it's like Telltale and Skybound's The Walking Dead. Overall, great series, even if the final couple seasons kind of dropped the ball a bit. But the big thing in the end there is that, and this one's a little fresher than Last of Us, but spoiler warning if you haven't seen the last episode of Telltale/Skybound's The Walking Dead. I skip ahead maybe a little bit. I don't know. I don't know exactly how long, like maybe 30 seconds. But at the end of the game, even after Clementine is bit, you find out that she survives. She gets her leg amputated and it works. The infection doesn't spread to the rest of her and she does survive. The only problem is with the way the story was going, with how the story in all of the seasons was handled, Clementine's survival actually didn't work. And it actually would have left a bigger impact and made more sense if she did die. And it was done in like a similar fashion to Lee. There was from the first season, Lee. There was a kind of a comparison scene to that in the last season after she had gotten bit and all. But it's just like it just kind of skimped on it in the end. It just kind of like it like retconned it. It's like, oh no, we can't kill off Clementine. People will riot. It's like, who cares? People are gonna riot either way. And also, it doesn't work, especially after faking it out and making it seem like she died. It just didn't work. So it's like with different zombie media, it's like sometimes you want them to survive, sometimes it makes sense for the story for them to survive, and sometimes it doesn't. In this case, in Seoul Station, you wanted to see them survive, and none of them did. But it also worked really well, because the way this movie portrayed the zombie apocalypse was very visceral. Like, this is one of the, in my opinion, one of the most visceral, scary zombie pieces of media out there. Like, I've seen many different zombie movies. I've seen shows like The Walking Dead. I've played many games and seen other people play many games. Yeah, it's just, I've seen a lot of zombie media. And most of them aren't scary. Even the good ones aren't necessarily scary. This was actually frightening. And I think one of the biggest reasons is how the zombies were portrayed. They were vicious. Like, the zombies are normally portrayed, okay, they're reanimated dead bodies shambling around, and you don't want them to get to you. When they travel in herds, they're usually a lot harder to get through, a lot harder to shoot or stab your way through or whatnot. They're a force to be reckoned with, basically. But they're slow still. They're slow, they're monotonous, they don't really do too much, you know? But in this is one of those rare pieces of zombie media where they run. Where the zombies are like, and they're running most of the movie. But it's not a silly run. Like, it's not one of those, like, I think World War Z did that, where they were fast zombies as well, but it was almost a little silly in that, but I liked World War Z as well. World War Z is the one when they, the zombies kind of formed this, like, wall to, like, they were just kept piling against the wall until they just kept piling on top of each other to get over the wall or shit, right? That was World War Z, right? But either way, but yeah, the way they ran and the way they chased after and everything was frightening. Because it's like you imagine yourself in that. And the art style also very much helped with that. The zombies looked scary. But the way they ran, the way they would launch themselves and everything, like, again, I mentioned in the reaction that one zombie that yeeted himself into the car door, head through the window and all, that freaked me out when that happened. Like, that was legitimately scary. Because I can imagine being in that position where it's like, oh, I'm running away from zombies, I go into the car, and all of a sudden that one yeets himself through the window like that. It's like, holy shit. Like, I don't think I've seen anything like that in a zombie piece of media before. Like, because they did that multiple times throughout the movie. They launched themselves almost. Like, you saw it when they were trying to chase her over the scaffolding that she was, like, you know, tiptoeing. Not really tiptoeing, that's the wrong word. She was carefully walking across, keeping her balance and all. Like, you saw them. Like, some of them landed on it in a way where they stayed on it, and then, like, they would, like, launch themselves toward her and end up falling down after that point. But it's like, yeah, it's like, holy shit. They were legitimately scary in this movie. And then we got something else that a lot of zombie media doesn't do. At least not a lot that I've seen. I'm not saying I haven't seen it at all before, but a lot of the zombie media I've seen doesn't really go into this, and that's what the military does. Because a lot of the zombie media that I've seen, usually, okay, it's like at the very beginning of the outbreak, and then it like kind of skips ahead a little bit, and it never really shows what the military actually had done. It kind of maybe hints at it a little bit, but it never actually shows it. Um, and this one actually showed the police force and the military acting. Granted, they were being horrible. Um, they were being pieces of shit, but they were still acting. They were doing things. And it's like, it's interesting to see that, to see how they would react to this kind of situation, and see what they would. And I'm not just talking about a couple cops here and there, like we saw earlier on in the movie when, they were at the police station and all, and they got trapped in the cell, the holding cell. No, I'm not just talking about that. I'm more talking about like the actual like unified force, like when they were keeping those people trapped in that one small alley. Um, yeah, just we don't usually see it, and they didn't do much in this movie. Granted, both the police force and the military were both like just antagonizing that group of survivors for really no logical reason. Um, and so it's like they didn't do much, but just to see them doing something, it's something. um, there were multiple like random side characters who would appear every now and again. Like there was the old man that the girl was traveling with for a little bit, who we kind of knew wouldn't make it. Um, Again, I mentioned there was the homeless dude near the beginning who was just trying to find help for the old man, who was the first we saw to turn. Um, there was that random crazy ass woman uh, who was like running at the homeless dude and our main girl, while they were trying to get the gate open. It's like it was kind of a random moment, but I guess in this kind of situation you would find survivors like that who would just like have lost their mind through all of this, um, and so on and so forth, and just these like characters just randomly strewn about. And I like that because it's like you're focusing on these certain few characters, but you see all these others and how they're reacting to things, what they're doing and everything. And I like that more than like, say, The Walking Dead, where it's like, oh, it's like we have our group and it's like pretty much, oh, nothing but just zombies and just completely abandoned places and everything until we meet another group. And whether or not the group is good or bad, that's a different story. But it's like, that's pretty much it. It's like everything's always abandoned. They're not coming across people. And yeah, in like The Walking Dead, both the show and the game, a lot of that takes place like months and even years into the apocalypse. So it's like at that point, yeah, but it's good to also see like this, where it's like all focused on just after the outbreak, where it's like they're still coming across all these different random people still. And not really hostile people or anything, just people just trying to survive as well. Um, the art and animation, as I already mentioned, was fantastic. It really like had a very just honestly realistic depiction to humans in terms of their movements, their appearance, and everything. Um, Made the zombies look great, of course. The soundtrack was phenomenally fitting. The soundtrack was like it was just so perfectly in tune with everything that was happening. The voice acting was phenomenal. Everything about this was just an honestly phenomenal film. Like seriously, I would say this is one of the best zombie movies I've seen by far. By far. And one of the best pieces of zombie media I've seen. Period. It's not even a question. It was that legitimately good. It kept me invested the entire time. There was no part of the movie that felt like it was going too slow or, oh, like they could have skipped this part. The only part that even slightly felt like that was, again, the part with the girl and the homeless guy, like trying to get through the gate before that crazy woman like confronted them because they thought she might have been a zombie. That part almost felt a little random, but it's like it wasn't bad or anything. It didn't feel like it didn't fit in with what was going on with the world. It just felt like, okay, what was the point of showing this woman? Was she going to be important? Maybe she's going to be in Train to Busan. Maybe that's it. Um, I don't know. But either way, it didn't feel like out of place for the world and the situation, is what I'm saying. So even that, even though it was a little random just in terms of the story, yeah, it's just like I can live with it. This was just a great movie. Like seriously. Um, I just really enjoyed pretty much every moment of it. It felt like it was again just nothing felt like it was too slow or like it was just like, oh, when is this part going to end? I didn't check the time. I mean, that should be an indication of how good it was that I was not checking the time at all. I think I checked the time once, but that was like, oh, okay, like this is going to be over soon. Um, and that was just because I was wondering exactly, like, at that point, how close we were to the end because of what happened in the movie. And I think that was with the twist of the guy not being her father. I just wanted to know, like, okay, where in the movie did that twist take place, basically? Because, in my opinion, that is important to how effective a twist is. I mean, I thought it was effective anyway, but I just wanted to know. But yeah, I like otherwise wasn't like looking at the time, wondering like even when a certain part was going to end. It's just like I was just invested. It was tense. It was frightening. It just was insane. I loved it. There's really no other way to put it. And I definitely am going to watch Train to Busan even more now. Like I'm not going to react to it. I think I'm going to watch Train to Busan in my own time. Um, but it's definitely something I want to watch even more than I did before. I know this movie is by the same director and everything. Like it's legitimately a real prequel to Train to Busan. It was just, of course, made afterwards. um, but it's by the same director and everything, so it's probably going to be very similar in style. So it's going to be interesting if if the zombies are like still the same kind of zombies and everything, how that's portrayed live action. Like not only their just appearance, but the way they move and everything. It's just going to be interesting to see that. Um, but yeah, yeah. Um, Now we just have to figure out what we're doing next month. So yeah, this was our movie night as well, not just our Halloween special. So next month for our November movie night, we're going back to the polls. So right now we have to bring up the randomizer. Give me a second to get that up, as well as I need to get up the list of movies, and we will determine what is on the poll. As always, there will be 6 options on the poll because it is the movie one. So we will have 6 options, and it will be the first 6 that are chosen from the list. So let me put that in there. Okay. Now let me get this up on the screen. There we go. Okay. Just edit this a little bit. Okay. I'll even full screen this because why not? You can still hear me. Okay, so we'll go through the options on here. I'll just scroll down. I'm going to get rid of that. Hold on. I'll just scroll down. You can check out, pause it at any point to check out everything that's on here. Again, the first 6 options will be on the poll, and the poll will be in the description below for you to vote on. So I'll scroll back up real quick. Okay, and now we just scroll down and hit randomize. Okay, so I'll cut this down now to our top 6 options. So here we go. These are our 6 options for the November poll for the movie night. We have April in the Extraordinary World, Ice Dragon Legend of the Blue Daisies, the animated Doctor Strange movie, Paprika, DC Showcase Catwoman, and Constantine, City of Demons. So we got a few different superhero movies on here. But let's talk about them in order. So April in the Extraordinary World. This was one that was suggested to me before. I don't know much of anything about it. I think it's an anime movie, but that's about all I know. Ice Dragon Legend of the Blue Daisies is a cartoon, I believe, not an anime. And again, it's another one I know next to nothing about. Doctor Strange. Now, this is an animated version of the Doctor Strange origin story, which we also saw in the live-action movie with Benedict Cumberbatch as part of the MCU. Now, obviously, this one's not connected to the MCU, and I don't think Dormammu's going to be a main antagonist in this one. Plus, it's probably going to do things notably different, like his master, Stephen Strange's master, in the Mystic Arts is going to be an old man. Because the MCU actually changed his master to a woman, played by Tilda Swinton. That was an MCU thing. Originally in the comics and everything, and I believe in this movie too, it is an old man still. But yeah, it's like I otherwise don't know exactly how it handles the story and everything. I don't know how the voice acting is or anything. I don't know if this connects to any other like comic book movies, any other DC movie or Marvel movies. I don't know, but we'll see. Paprika is an anime movie. I believe it's by Satoshi Kon. I believe it is. I might be wrong about that though. And from what I've heard, it's another one of those anime mindfuck movies. So that should be fun. I don't know anything about the story though. I've seen like I think a clip from it, but it's been a long time. And all I know about it is that yeah, it's supposed to be like insanely mindfucking. And also it's actually very divisive. I think I've heard. Like, some people really like it, but then others really think it's not good at all. I don't know. I guess we'll have to see if it's voted on. Number 5, DC Showcase Catwoman. The DC Showcase movies are shorter, but it's still counted as a movie. I think it's a direct-to-video movie or something like that. But Catwoman, obviously, from the DC universe, connected especially to Batman. I've always been a fan of Selena Kyle. I've always liked Catwoman, so it's going to be interesting to see this. I don't know if it's going to be an origin story or if it's just going to focus on just some kind of little thing she does. I also don't know if Batman or anyone else is going to be in it like that. I don't know. I don't know anything about the story I don't know what the art or animation looks like or who's in it. So I'm blind on that one pretty much too, outside of just knowing who Catwoman is. And our 6th and final option is Constantine, City of Demons. This is the movie that kind of goes alongside the animated series, the cartoon of the same name. But yeah, the movie, it's about John Constantine from the DC universe, who you saw in my reaction when I did Justice League Dark. He's a member of the like heroes in the DC universe, but he deals specifically with the supernatural stuff, the really scary stuff, the stuff that goes bump in the night, whatever you want to say. Demons, is one big example of that. Now, I don't know what this exact story is about with him. I don't know what the animation is going to be like. I don't know if it's going to be like similar to Justice League Dark at all. I don't know if it's... I don't know pretty much anything about what this one's going to be about. I don't know if there's going to be any other notable characters in it. Like, Justice League Dark had other ones in it as well, like Etrigan the Demon. I mean, hell, Etrigan the Demon could be in City of Demons. You never know. But yeah, otherwise, I don't really know much of anything story-wise about it. I guess out of all of these, Doctor Strange is the one I know the most story-wise about, just because I know his origin story, which it's probably not going to be too different. Like, in the MCU film, like, okay, he's this really, really talented surgeon who ends up getting in a car crash. His hands get all fucked up and he can't perform surgery anymore. So he kind of goes into this depressive state and eventually ends up traveling the world. And he finds this, like, monk, this master monk who ends up teaching him the mystic arts and stuff. And that is how he ends up becoming Doctor Strange. Basic, obviously, really dumbed down version of it, but yeah. It's probably going to be very much the same as that, just more details and slightly different, obviously, from the MCU film. So that's probably the one I know the most about. If I had to say one I know the least about, it's probably either April in the Extraordinary World or Ice Dragon. Because, again, Catwoman and Constantine, I at least know the characters and I know the kind of thing to expect from those movies. And Paprika, if it is Satoshi Kon, like I believe it is, I kind of have an idea of what to expect, at least. But yeah, with the other two, the first two options, I know pretty much nothing. So those are the options. The poll will be down in the description below. And I thank you all so much for tuning in. Tell me also in the comments below what you thought of Seoul Station. Did you find it to be as good as I did, or did you have any problems with it? Let me know. Either way, thank you all so much for tuning in, and I hope you have or had a very happy Halloween, depending on when you're watching this. So, thank you all so much, and for now, I'm Connie, and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.
Hey everyone, Connie here, and thank you so much for tuning into today's video. If you want to check out any of my social media links and more, please check them out over to the side. And if you have any comments, questions, concerns, please leave those down below. In the meantime, though, thank you so much once again for tuning in. For now, I'm Connie, and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.